those are the moments that make you better. And I think the biggest thing for these students that do this, I don't, I haven't done this in a while, but is to be willing to try something different. Especially when there's two conductors saying two different things to their students, and being able to change and be flexible, and that really makes you a better teacher, I think.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Band, a podcast that features conversations with composers, conductors, and performers of music for winds and percussion. My name is Mark Connor. I'm a composer, and this is episode number 26. My guest for this episode is conductor Giovanni Santos. Before we begin, I'd like to thank all of you for your support. If you find value from the show and haven't already done so, please leave me a rating on iTunes. You can also follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're really loving what you hear, you can even support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Mark J. Connor. Now, on to the episode. Hi, Giovanni.
Hey, Mark. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for joining me. I'm happy to have you. I mentioned to you before we started the episode that I noticed you through social media. And yeah. I wanted to start off kind of with that. So the presence that you have on social media for your conducting workshop and just in general for the Department of Music at La Sierra is pretty impressive. Sort of how did you come to that?
I appreciate it. Well, just coming to the conclusion that so many people are on social media, and that's how they get a lot of their information. I decided, hey, this is really the way to go. Even nowadays, people aren't answering their emails or their phone calls, but they're definitely on Facebook and other things on the internet. So I thought that'd be important. I have a good friend. He's a composer, Gary Kuo. He composes for films. And he inspired me to do something similar. I try not to put too much, but when there's something important happening, or especially something here at the university, it's important that the world knows, and it's a great way. We usually get a really good response that way, as opposed to other ways. So we here at the department, we're trying to do as much of that as possible. I should probably be better at Twitter and the other ones, but I usually put most of my things on Facebook. But it's worked out really well for us.
Yeah, I think Facebook is still the king, although it seems like it's beginning to fade a little bit.
It is. Hard on Twitter. My wife is an educator, and education is really headed towards using Twitter more, but it seems like musicians are still more on Facebook, so I'm watching out for that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. Do you have any thoughts maybe how a high school band director or a middle school band director could use it effectively within the context of their jobs, perhaps, to promote their programs?
Yeah, I think the same way, just like, what are the highlights of your program? What are you guys doing? I find it personally very interesting to see what rep different programs are doing. I also I know that there's sections on I don't even know what you call them, but on Facebook for band directors that they want advice, or they have a highlight to show band director group, I guess. And there's some other ones as well. Those are always really busy, and there's a lot of things happening there. We have one for wind conducting workshops, for jobs, or for many things. There's always something happening. So it's great to see. And it's always great to see what other programs are doing. A lot of the universities will post their repertoire for the year.
But what I really like is the idea of seeing the pieces that people value, and especially the new pieces that people value.
Exactly. And they ask questions like, I have a really good saxophone section. What's something out there that's good? And, a lot of people respond to that. So it's really nice to see. Even for me, I taught several years in high school and elementary, just to see what they're doing. And some of those things work for me as well here. So, and maybe once in a while I can, give some advice to someone, maybe help someone else out. So it's a really, really, really nice thing to have. And it's right away. You post something, it's there. Everyone can see it, which can be a bad thing too. But it's really nice to see.
Yeah. So what posts are most effective as far as, are they pictures? Are they videos? What gets your biggest result?
For me, when there's like an event, so let's say, especially if I invited someone or we commissioned something, if I have a guest conductor coming in, we post it, maybe put their picture, their bio, and start inviting people. We get a lot of feedback from that, and really that's how we're getting our audience. So I'm literally making my students do the same thing. the members in the wind ensemble or the big band, when we post something, they have to share it. That's just kind of what they have to do.
So, Giovanni, can you tell us about your background, how you got into music?
I was born in Puerto Rico. I don't have any Puerto Rican blood. My family's actually half Cuban, half Dominican, but that's where they were at that point. And we lived there for about 9 years, and I took some piano, which I hated to take. Um, but I was in the choirs. I tried to, every percussion instrument you can imagine. Moved to San Diego in fifth grade, which is, of course, for a lot of us, the time where you pick an instrument. And I always had trumpet in my mind. So luckily, I was able to start on trumpet, took some lessons. Wasn't always able to take lessons because of financial reasons, but I really stuck to it. Really loved the sound. My best friends play trumpet. It's funny because my best friend teaches right next to me, and we still play trumpet together since fifth grade. Um, so did that. I went to a small public school in San Diego Academy. So the band program wasn't the greatest. We're talking a high school of like 60 people. So, everyone was in the band. Actually, half of them were in the band. So it wasn't the greatest thing, but we worked hard. We had a good trumpet section, and we tried the best rep that we could possibly play with that size of an ensemble. I started taking trumpet lessons with a trumpet player from LA when I think I was a senior, maybe a junior in high school, Richard Hoffman. And he taught here in Riverside, here at La Sierra University, actually. Um, and I started taking some lessons with him, and that really convinced me to do my undergrad here, to study with him. And also, that's where I decided, or actually wanted to be a trumpet player. That's what I wanted to do for a living. And worked hard. I did a little bit of conducting, took all the courses that everyone has to take, did a little bit of music education, and I went to USC. Southern, the one over here, not the one in Southern Carolina. Um, and Joined the wind ensemble. I was in the master's program in trumpet, and there I met a very special conductor, which I'm sure you know, Professor H. Robert Reynolds. And literally on the first rehearsal, after that rehearsal, I walked over to the records office and added music education. I mean, he convinced me without telling me anything, without talking about his profession, that that's what I should be doing, just by the way that he led the rehearsal. Very inspiring rehearsal, and it's like an explosion happened in my head where I knew this is what I'm gonna do. When when this whole time I was thinking, I'm gonna play for an orchestra or something else, and I was pretty convinced I would do so. And just one rehearsal with that man, and that was it. It changed my life.
Yeah. It's remarkable to me, and that's a topic that comes back and forth, is how one person or one event or one moment can change our paths. And I hear that over and over again.
Yeah, it was that rehearsal. That was it.
Yeah,
I I,
and I'm
I
sorry, go
don't even
ahead.
think I talked to him after the rehearsal. I was probably too afraid. I literally just walked over across the street, and what do I have to do to start this music ed program and start this?
So after you did make this decision,
Yeah,
what was the sort of what happened next? I guess how did you sort of start into the music ed, and then where did that lead you?
yeah, yeah. I was still playing trumpet. I wanted to make sure that I could still play in that group and in the orchestra. And most of the USC students, you have to be a performance major to do so. And I kept that going. So I still practice a lot, but I knew that the ending would be me conducting, me teaching, etc. My grandparents were in education and higher learning, and that was also motivational for me. So I was thinking, you know what, I want to be like them, which I always been wanting to be. I started teaching part time at a small elementary junior high there in Crescenta Valley, which is close to Glendale, close to LA as well. Um, so I taught there. That was about 2.5 years. I took over in December because someone there quit, and it was a good opportunity for me to come in. And so that was my first teaching experience as a band director. And you can ask any other band director. That's where you do your most learning, your first job. And yeah, so I did that for a few years. Then I was still at USC. I had one more quarter left, and I got a position at LAUSD, the school district, the giant school district in LA, for a new school, Maywood Academy High School, no band program. They didn't really have much going. They didn't even have seniors. It was just three grade levels. I started the band program there. I graduated halfway through the year. I was taking night classes to finish. Um, and I only stayed there years. I was offered a job closer to where I lived. I didn't tell you I was driving from Riverside every day to go to USC and to teach. So I'd be leaving at 3 in the morning from Riverside and driving all the way to LA, teaching, taking classes, playing nightclubs, coming back. So it's a rough few years. So when I got offered a job closer to home, at a really, really good school, Loma Linda Academy, I decided this is, the next step for me and for us. I was married, still married, of course. um, and It was a really good experience. So it was a big program. It's a private school, and I was there for 7 years. So it was a really good experience. And from there, I got the position here at La Sierra University, which is maybe 20 miles away from Loma Linda Academy. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a long road, but maybe not too long compared to other people.
Well, it sounds like a pretty typical road, actually. Lots of stops along the way. It seems to me
Yeah,
that, I talk to college freshmen, and today's the second week of classes, and they're bright eyed and they have their
yeah,
ideas about what their career is going to look like. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
know that for all of them, it's going to be way different than
yeah, yeah.
what they think, and probably more successful than they all possibly imagine it.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So I want to ask you a couple things because I my experience as a high school teacher is exactly yours. I started a band program. It wasn't at a new school, but it was at a school where the band program had died in the 1950s,
uh-huh.
and I resurrected it for my first
Yeah.
high school job. And so I want to ask you about that at Maywood Academy.
hmm
You were there a year?
I was there 1 year.
1 year.
Yes.
Okay. So what did that year look like? How many kids did you have that first day?
I remember my first day. I was teaching. Let's see. I had a band. They just call it a regular concert band. And then by the second quarter, I had two bands and a big band after school. So, to my surprise, the principal didn't know this. No one knew this. But first day of band, I'm trying to see who plays what. And right away, I found out that no one played anything because the school district, in at least in that section, had canceled band in elementary and junior high for several years. So I got a group of like 80 students that signed up because they wanted to learn to play in a band. So to play a band instrument, I had one person that played flute like for a year, and that's it. So it turned into a beginning band, which I had experience with fifth graders, but it was different. But we worked so hard. It was in a really poor neighborhood in East LA. A lot of problems with gangs and drugs and everything around there. But these students were there because they wanted to be, which was really a great thing, and a really great experience for me. And so yeah, they couldn't afford lessons. They couldn't afford anything. So I had to. I would give after school free lessons for every instrument. So sorry about all the beeping. Not sure how to turn that off. Um, so great teaching experience for me. Very, very great educational experience for me. Um, Truthfully, I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer, but life happens, so I had to move on. But really great experience. Luckily, we had some kind of endowment, and we had all the instruments that we needed. I didn't have to worry about any of that.
Wow.
Uh, but they couldn't take instruments home because there are so many gangs in that area that if they took them home, they wouldn't come back with it. So, I had to figure out a way to keep them after school. So I started the big band and some lessons after school, and so good experience for them, great experience for me. So, but we had, it was scary at times. We had many lockdowns, um, but I had the students that wanted to be there, which is really a great thing.
Yeah, that's an incredible story, actually. That's wonderful. So what kind of progress did you make with those 80 beginners in that first year? I know you say you had a band, two bands and then a jazz band, but
No, we had block periods, which for that situation was great for me, for us, because I had an hour and a half in the morning with them every single morning. So the hard thing with that is to keep them motivated and not to do the same thing for an hour. So, but we could we can practice rhythms for half an hour, and see how creative we could be with that. We went from, I would say it was a beginning band, and by the end they sounded like a really good junior high by the end of the year. And we had a full, hour and a half concert of a repertoire. And I wouldn't say so much because of me. They just soaked it in and they worked hard. So, it was a fantastic experience to be there. And I personally learned a ton.
Yeah, I
Uh,
bet.
so yeah, no, there's fantastic kids. I still stay in contact with a lot of them, and they're doing very well. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see these these students grow.
Yeah. What's the program like now? Is it still there?
I have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the year after I left, I was able to help a friend of mine get hired there. Really good band director. Now he's actually in the Naval Academy band. Um, and the year after that, I don't know. They call it red slipping, where they pretty much got they the program got canceled anyways. But from my understanding, the year after it started up again, I don't know what's happening now because I don't know who their music director is. But it wasn't it wasn't great after I left. I know with his name's Matt Harriman, good friend of mine. He kept it going. I think it was 2 years, and he did a great job. Not sure what happened after that. So hoping it's all good.
Well, I hope so, because that would be sad to see that fail. I mean, given what it sounds like is a lifeline for a lot of kids in a bad situation.
It is, and the other faculty in that same program are great as well. Very caring teachers. So I really hope it's going well.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so do you mind? Do you want to talk about your background in terms of how that either helped or hurt you?
Definitely, I love to talk about it. So moving over to from Puerto Rico to San Diego, it was tough because I mean I kind of understood English a little bit. The school I was going to in Puerto Rico, we have I think everyone has to learn English over there, but it's not that big a deal. We all speak Spanish,
Right.
so that's our main language. And then coming here, and of course my parents at home, everything's in Spanish. My parents, my grandparents, everybody. At our school, ESL at that time, so 1990, 91, ESL wasn't really a big deal. So, everything was in English. So I had a hard time scholastically and finding friends and figuring out what I was really doing. Anyways, um, music, I mean, I think music really helped because it was just a different language. Of course, I didn't know what the band director was saying, but I understood a little bit about rhythm and some other things because the piano.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good avenue for me. Um, so I progressed quickly. It was a private school where the high school band was there, the junior high band, everything was kind of just there. So by sixth grade, he put me in the high school band.
Yeah.
So that was a great experience. It wasn't a fantastic high school band, but it was better than just playing whole notes.
Right.
Um,
Gave you also a social group too, I imagine, in a small high school.
Exactly. And I was able to play pretty, what I don't remember what we played, but what I remember being pretty cool music.
How has your background affected you as a music professional? Have you found it to be a positive, a negative?
I think it's very positive because I can relate with so many different people. You know what I mean? Our here at Los Sierra is very diverse. I mean, um, I'd say more than half of our students come from other countries or ethnicities, I would say. So I think that's a great thing. I can say something in Spanish and half the class is going to understand or laugh at my Spanish joke. And I understand what being poor is. I understand what it means to, you know, come from a small program. Or I understand what it means to be from a big program. Um, Also, what's very helpful is the friendships that I've developed over the years with this community. I've been here for a while. Although I didn't, this is only my third year teaching here, but I taught Loma Linda for 7 years, and my second year they hired me as an adjunct trumpet professor. So I've been here, and I've gotten to meet a lot of people and develop a lot of great relationships. So that's been very helpful. And then career wise, I always tried to be as well rounded as possible. And my grandfather always taught me that, you really need to know about everything, be able to conversate about every single subject. So I've always tried to learn about, whatever I can. And that's been helpful, especially here in La Sierra in our ensembles, because, they're not all music majors. I would say 30 of them are music majors, and 15% of those are music major on that instrument. We have choral people, singers that happen to play saxophone. It's a really great mix. And being able to know a little bit about everything, or know about different cultures and different things, like it's a good thing. You can always conversate about something. And I have it may just be me. I'm always very interested, even about non-musical things, just knowing how students are doing. I remember those college days, how difficult they can be. So I want to know how they're doing. And when students get that kind of respect for you because they know you care for them, they really start to play for you. And it's almost so, there's that other thing. I don't do it because of that, but it helps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the foundations of my own teaching career, is the belief that if you just show students that you care about them, even a little bit, doesn't have to be like over the top, but you just ask them about their day, ask them how they're doing, that's where you make the connections that make you an effective teacher.
Yeah, Professor Reynolds used to just sit outside next to the trumpet studio and talk to us for like an hour. And it wasn't about music. He would just talk. So, those things mean a lot.
That's what it is, the personal connection. Can you tell me a little bit more about La Sierra? You started into it, but what's the size of the school? What does your program look like? The band look like?
Yeah, I don't know the size of the university this year. I'm guessing it's a little over 2,000. It's a small private school, liberal arts. Our department it's a good mix of students that are doing music, pre-med or pre-dent, pre-something. Um, we have a couple of choirs. We have one band, the wind ensemble. We have a big band. We have several chamber ensembles. I'm still working on starting up some more. And yeah, and we offer it's all undergrad degrees, music education, performance, a regular BA. The BA is more for those that are looking into pre-med or other things. We have a medical school here close by, so a lot of those students transfer over to that. And yeah, we have a school education. We're trying to start up a music education graduate degree here in a little bit. So it's a good program. Our kids work hard. They're very spirited, and a lot of talent. We're graduating some people going into the Juilliard, the major schools, graduate schools around the U.S. So I'm very blessed, very lucky to be working with some really fantastic faculty in piano and conducting and voice and really in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good program, and part of my job, I feel, and we talked about social media, is to let people know, like, hey, there's things happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Make this one of your options. There's some fantastic schools around this area. Well, I want people to know, well, this is another one.
Yeah,
If
sure.
you want a smaller school, or if you want a Christian education, this might be the place for you. Um, you don't have to be. This is a Seventh Day Adventist affiliated university, but you don't have to be Adventist to come. You don't have to be anything. We have it all. So we're very welcoming. We have students from all over the world, and it's fun, man. To tell you the truth, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, sounds like it. That comes through too in your social media for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. How many majors in the program, if you don't mind me asking, instrumental wise?
Don't mind at all. Jeez. Let's see. I don't want to make up numbers. We also have a performance certificate degree,
Uh-huh.
and we have several piano majors. I have 2 conducting majors and performance certificate. We're pretty much just getting them ready for graduate school.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple of those for conducting. In my wind ensemble, I'd say there's 4 or 5 instrumental majors, but some of those, there's some others that are like vocal majors. Some of them are string majors.
Uh-huh. Doubling.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them double on different things, and it's a good thing because they're gigging on 2 different instruments, and
Yeah,
they do
absolutely.
it. So as in music education program, we're building. We have like 2 or 3 music ed students. It used to be more about 10 or 12 years ago. So we're trying to build that program. Um, Performance, there's a good handful of them. Truthfully, a lot of our majors are pre something, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So how are you attracting kids who are not music majors to your band?
Several several ways. Social media helps a little bit with that. But my first day of teaching the wind ensemble, I think there was 8 people sitting down in front of me, and I had to make a decision. What are we going to do? How are we going to build this? And the first thing we started doing is that I told the students in front of me, you guys need to help me out. You guys are the ones taking all these classes. You're meeting with more students than I'm meeting, and they started looking around until we found enough people to make a wind ensemble. And by the second, that same quarter, we had our first concert, and Professor Reynolds was the guest conductor. So we worked hard, and yeah, I have help from faculty, so I'll have faculty come in and help. More so 2 years ago than now, um, and even some community members. I have a couple of doctors. They're fantastic tuba players. They come in and play. But I've told them, straightforward. Listen, my what I'm hoping is that you're not in the band in a couple of years, and they know that. So I want to fill your spot with a student, and we're doing that little by little. So now I might have I have one faculty member helping out with horn, and I think that's it. So we filled every spot, and it's a true wind ensemble with students. So my students are doing a good job of recruitment, and I'm going out, and a lot of my old Loma Linda students are starting to come here as well, and visiting and doing some of the honor bands that I'm doing. It's starting to help out. So little by little, we're getting there.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
Hey, so you've had a lot of times as the first year. It sounds like you've taught at a couple different places along the way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, what advice would you give to teachers who are maybe starting out in their first year or two in a program?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Of course, it's not very easy, as you know, but I think the biggest thing is to be willing to learn. You're going to make mistakes, and be willing to learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to change something if you got it wrong the first time. And know that it's going to take a lot of work. You have to have a lot of patience. I always tell some of the new teachers that it takes about 3 years to make the program your own. And it's kind of true. By the third year, you're starting to get a hold of your program. And really, one thing Professor Reynolds would tell me is be true to yourself. Do it the way that you think it should be done, not the way you think others have done it in the past. So if you think this way works better, try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. And again, ask questions. There's so many educators and people in high postings that are very easy to talk to. Ask them questions, and I'm sure most of them are very willing to help. And that's what I did. I wasn't perfect. I made a lot of mistakes, but I really worked hard, and I asked a lot of questions, maybe too many sometimes, but it's really helped me out. So yeah, you just gotta try. You just gotta go for it. And again, have patience. I tell students, when it comes to teaching, let's say, of course, a lot of them are young, but what's the kind of teacher you want your kids to have, your children? That's the kind of teacher you should be.
Yeah.
So, and I think about that all the time. Those times where you're tired and you just don't really want to teach. Well, imagine your kid is in there, your child. It's
Right.
someone's kid.
Yeah,
You
that's
got
right.
the best possible education you can give them, and just go for it. And why did you fall in love in the first place? And try to instill that into your students. So, and sometimes it takes years. It's not going to happen right away. I think that's the thing with new teachers. They think these things happen right away. You just got to give it time. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I had a really great conversation with Tiffany Hitz a few episodes ago,
Hmm.
and we were talking. She has lots of guests come in. She's
Yeah,
constantly having people come into her band room, and she's a terrific, terrific teacher.
yeah.
And so, but she's always looking for outside feedback. And I think I don't know if I'm just overgeneralizing, but I maybe that this doesn't happen as much as it should.
Hmm.
And so, you've had lots of guest conductors, and have you had any composers in?
Yeah, I've had composers in, guest conductors. We do the conducting workshop and we have them come in. Every 2 years we do a big band festival. So we've had several people come in. For me, and this is really my teaching philosophy, is that teaching is really about the experience. What are students going to remember? They're not always going to remember when you told them, that F sharp is not the first finger, it's the second finger. Hopefully, of course, they remember that. But that's not something that's memorable. You know what I mean? The things that are memorable is having a guest conductor come in. Things that are memorable is being able to be part of a commission and being the first to play a piece, or having a colleague or one of your friends compose a piece for the band and just working through it. Well, those are the things they're going to remember. They're going to remember, traveling. If that's something that you can do, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember playing for a festival. And those are things and I'm sure you do. You remember these things for the rest of your life. When you met this person, when you met
Yep.
that person, when you were the first to play the solo for that composer. I mean, those are the things you remember. And I really try to do that. I mean, we've had several in just 3 years, several people coming in. Travis Cross is close by. Robert Reynolds, he's been here twice already. Um, Thomas Lee, former director at UCLA. Alan McMurray is coming this quarter. Kevin Sedatal is coming this quarter. Um, and the fantastic thing is that, this sounds like it's an outrageously expensive thing to do, which it can be, but you just find a way to do it and you just do it.
Absolutely. It's amazing that you say that, because what you're saying is give the students an experience.
That's the most important. I want people in front of my band that are better than me. I want something that can give something that I can't give them. And then eventually, and I tell my students all the time, I want them to be better than me. So, and I want this kind of selfless kind of thinking in them as well, because that's what teaching really is. Because we do really, what are we doing for ourselves? Everything, our profession is to help others. So if you're not thinking that way, then you might be in the wrong profession. So providing these things for them and seeing the different perspectives, or maybe the same perspective, or bringing my former teacher, someone that I really look up to, and see why I really look up to him, etc. And then also, um, giving them, one-on-one experiences with them as well. Let's go out to lunch. I have this person coming over. Why don't you come with me? Or even, and that's why we have the conducting workshop. We're not one of the major universities, so we do it just for one day. But a lot of people want to be a part of it, and it's a fantastic thing. I know it's not because of me; it's because of the people I'm bringing in. But I'm learning so much as well. So I'm trying to also provide experiences for me to learn and to be better at what I do.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. So now you're at a university. So I can imagine a listener saying, "Well, he's at a university. He can afford, or he can bring in Alan McMurray or H. Robert Reynolds or Travis Cross." How might a middle school band director or a high school band director or an elementary music teacher reach out to the community around them to give that experience to their students?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have that kind of money. That's what I hope people understand.
So how do you
It's
do
that
it?
it's that you just do whatever you need to do to make it happen. So for this festival, there's like most festivals, there's a small fee to be part of the festival, for the other bands, and that will usually cover most of the fees. And listen, if it's like a 1 day thing, a lot of these conductors and composers and high posts, they want to come out and help. You tell them, what do I need to do to get you out here? And a lot of them, and I'm speaking from experience, they're like, oh, just when do you want me to come? I'll go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be this major function. It could just be listen to my band for an hour. Tell me what you think. You know what I mean? If they're close enough. Of
Yeah.
course, bringing people from out of state and from other peoples, you have to do some organizing and hopefully some fundraising, or maybe have a donor here and there, or the school, the admin fund can help you. I've done that before. I asked the principal, hey, do you have an extra $200 that we could use this for this? And this is why it's important. You have to have a case for it. This is why it's important. Well, if you can't do it this year, maybe you can do it next year. You know what I mean? You already told them. They know what you're really wanting to do. Um, so yeah, especially for composers, if you're already playing their piece, do a Skype rehearsal. I mean, what does that cost? So do a Skype rehearsal, do anything like I've done. I have bands that ask to do Skype rehearsals with me, and at least I'm not charging. It's not hard for me. I just turn it on. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I've often offered to do it free and then been paid because they want to pay me, and then other times I've just done it. If a local
exactly,
high school, like one of the high schools down the road, asked me to come in and watch and listen, I wouldn't charge them.
exactly.
I
I
mean,
mean,
if they offered, then fine, but I'm not going to charge them because they're my local high school. I want to help them.
exactly. And most of the ones I don't get paid to do a lot of the stuff that I do. We're not rich in our profession, but that's not really why we do it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just ask for help, or just minimum you can record the band and send the clip to the composer and have them listen.
Yeah, it's good advice
I
too.
mean, there's just many ways to go around it. Um, and when it comes to just advice, just email whoever you want to email, and some of the top people that I email myself for advice, they respond right away.
Hmm.
They're not sending me a bill for for advice. So yeah, it's out there. We want to help, and I say most of us because it's true, but most of us are in this because we're here to help others, and we're not trying to become millionaires doing it. But I think if they're creative with the way they approach some of these things, especially those schools that really can't afford to bring someone in, then try other things. Skyping, or sending an email, or sending a recording of one of the pieces and see what they think, etc.
So Giovanni, in addition to being a conductor and a teacher and a college band director and a trumpet teacher, you're also a composer.
Yeah, I do a little bit of that.
So what kind of music are you writing?
Right now, I mean, as a band director, you have to write stuff. You have to arrange something that a student can't quite play
Sure.
yet, or etc. So there was a lot of that going on. But at all my jobs, I was always outrageously busy. I always wanted to write things out and compose a full length piece. Never had time. Uh, I would sit on the piano at times, even as a high school director, and just write out my ideas. And I had like a stack of compositional things that I wanted to expand on. Never did. Um, when I would write like little fanfares and things for concerts, or an introduction to a different piece, and that was kind of my experience with that. Um, and then here at La Sierra, I was really motivated to really start doing that. Part of the reason I moved out here, one, that I could spend a little bit more time with my kids and take them to school in the morning, and two, for growth. I felt like I really needed to grow more, and it was time for me to move on. So, and I've been able to do that here, and part of that was composing. So, it took me a couple of years, but by last year, I wrote two full length pieces for my wind ensemble. One we just premiered at one of our regular concerts here, and then I had done some guest conducting in Europe, and one of my composer friends out there asked if our group could go out there for a tour and play for his music festival, a new music festival, and then he also asked me to write a piece for that festival, and I thought that'd be a great opportunity for me to really get this going. So I did, and it was at the Republic of San Marino, tiny little country in the middle of Italy. Um, in the summer, we went out and we premiered my piece. Because of what I was doing, I would always talk to the students of what the process of composition, the way that I was doing things, and why I wrote things a certain way. Um, and it really inspired others to do the same. So I had two other students write music for this festival. Um, so that was a really neat experience. So that was the first thing. After that, a good friend of mine, he's in the Naval Academy Band. I went to USC together, and he asked, "Hey, why don't you write me a piece?" And I'm thinking, piano or a quintet or something like that. And well, he's getting me to compose a piece for the Naval Academy brass ensemble, and they're going to premiere a piece, my brass ensemble piece, at the Kennedy Center this year, which is kind of a cool thing, a surprise.
Yeah.
But hey, what's going to make you work hard is something like that, and make sure the music's good. So it's going to be a solo for him, backed up by the Naval Academy brass ensemble, and I've been writing like little duets and things. I wrote a fanfare. Actually just finished it 2 days ago. A short fanfare for my former trumpet teacher at USC. His name's Boyd Hood. He played for the LA Philharmonic for many, many years. Um, and it was more just a dedication for him. I truthfully I couldn't sleep. I have family in the way of this hurricane that's happening right now. So it's been some sleepless nights. So I stayed up and was inspired and wrote him a piece and sent it to him, and a couple of his former students are going to play in a recital. So just little things like that. But right now, my main focus is this piece for the Naval Academy Band.
Yeah. So September 7th, 2017, Hurricane Irma is churning its way through the Caribbean right now.
Yeah, my mom lives in Dominican Republic with some other family members, and it just passed through there. She's fine. She was
Good.
In the right place.
Mm-hmm.
But I have family in Cuba as well, and a lot of family in South Florida. So we're looking for the best.
Yeah, I have lots of friends in South Florida. I went to Florida State for my doctorate, so lots of folks down there I think about.
Yeah, it's a scary time.
It is, sure is.
It looks like there's another one on its way, so I hope that doesn't develop into anything.
Yeah, especially into the islands that were hit directly. They look pretty bad right now.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that got serious really quickly. That's okay. Life happens.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we've been talking for a while now. I'm really inspired by your selflessness. Like
the real truth is I do everything for myself. I'm just kidding.
Well, but it's interesting that you say that because you can be selfless, and people who are selfless find that more comes back to them.
Yeah, it's not like, like you said, it's hard to explain. I'm not saying that I don't want to be successful. I've been very lucky, very blessed, and I've had some really great opportunities. And don't get me wrong, I worked really hard.
Yeah, sure.
It's mostly because I want to be good. But it's not because I want people to know how great I am. It's because I want to be good for my students. And I want them to learn. I want them to be inspired the way that I was inspired. Mm-hmm. Hopefully. I always say if I can be half the man that my grandpa was, then I'd be in a good place. And I'm following in his footsteps. I'm trying to. But my wife is also a great inspiration for me. She teaches in a small, very poor neighborhood, and kids are coming in without shoes, and some really tough things going on. And just to see what she goes through, and man, you've never taught until you teach elementary. It's outrageously difficult. I'm sure you know that. And teaching the same kids all day with these issues and learning disabilities and parents that aren't there and 1,000 different things. And of course, students that don't speak English very well, and you're trying to help them. And then the testing starts, and don't even get me started with the testing. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Is your wife a Spanish speaker?
She is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's Mexican.
Okay.
Mexican family. But yeah, and she has so much love for these students. She works so hard and just has hopes and dreams for them to get out of what the situations that they're in now. And seeing that, I go every year and do my little music lesson with them. And it's really inspiring just to see the way she teaches and helps others and really works it out for them and provides so much for them. So to have that in my life every single day is very helpful. It's also very helpful to have the kind of faculty we have here at La Sierra. And I'm not just saying it because I'm here, but we have really selfless teachers here. Teachers are staying late just to help students in theory and music history and their lessons and rhythm and whatever they need help with. We're here to help. And it's nice to see. Very nice to see. And some of these, the guy next door to me gets his compositions performed by the LA Master Chorale all the time. These are people that are they're doing very well in music. And they're here to help, and they're very, very loving. And also, we also try to show the students that it's possible to make a life in music. If you really love it, you just have to work hard. And it's like any other profession. You want to be a doctor, you got to study.
Yep.
So that's what we're here for. We're here to help them and to help them realize that it's possible and to show them how important it is in our lives. So hopefully we're doing that. I think we are, and I have some good people next to me to show me the way.
Yeah, sure. What challenges do you think are facing music and music education as we look forward?
I always try not to be too negative. You know, a lot of times you go to some of these uh, music education meetings, and it can become more of a griping session. Um, you know, administration will give me this, this won't happen. I think sometimes you just have to figure it out on your own. You know, money's not always going to be there. That's a big issue, obviously. We don't have enough money to do the things that we want to do, or sometimes the things that we need to do. I know of a local district, and I won't say which one, they don't have enough instruments to even have a full band. I mean, there's not enough instruments for them to even hold. So those kind of issues. Um, a big thing I feel is being creative with how you educate. When you have those things in front of you, you have administration that may not be the greatest or may not be supportive. How can you be creative and work around that and still give a really great music education to the students? I think at the end, it's really just the teacher, because all of us have, you know, we're not all lucky enough to have the perfect situation. I think we have to think back and see what can I do to make this a better situation for the students. Think of the students first. Okay, do I have to stay after school? Okay, I'm gonna have to stay after school an hour and do this, or get free lessons, or do group lessons, or see if there's anyone that knows anything about music that's willing to give of their time and help me out. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, and part of it is not giving up right away. Like I said before, it takes time. If you're trying to build a program, that takes time. Even at the collegiate level, that's going to take time. I feel like I've been lucky that it's been pretty quick here in La Sierra. Things have worked out really well quickly. But it's not like that everywhere. It's going to take time, and people have to have patience. And I feel, and I've seen it in the past, when they have that patience, administration and others, they start to see how great and what great a job you're doing, and what a great influence you are with your students, that things start happening for you, like you mentioned before. So a big thing is, especially new teachers, having patience. You know, you don't know it all. Even us, we don't know it all. We just work through it and figure it out. Um, and there's not always one solution that fixes problems. You just have to keep working at it. You have to keep thinking back. You know, why am I doing this? And hopefully find that place that makes you come back and keep doing it over and over again. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's terrific. So think back to when you were just finishing up your first year of theory or your second year of theory, and you're about 20. What advice would you give that young person?
Building relationships with your friends here in the collegiate level is really important.
Oh
Now
my
that
goodness, yes, it is.
outrageously important, as
Yes.
you already know. I mean, most of the jobs that I received were because of people that knew me.
Yep.
I don't think as maybe one job, but every single job that I received was someone knew me there, or knew someone there, etc. And a lot of times, not even your professors; it's a friend of yours. For instance, I'm co-chairing the music department here for a quarter. Well, guess who's co-chairing with me? A guy I went to college with here at La Sierra.
Yep.
Um, the guy that commissioned me to write this piece for the Navy band, which is a huge thing. It's a friend of mine from USC. So these things happen. You know, I hired someone to teach trumpet here, so it'd be a bigger name, or help with recruiting, other things. He's a principal trumpeter at the Hollywood Bowl. I went to college with him, so that's how it works.
It's
So
connections.
connections. Don't burn your bridges. Do your job. Do a good job. Be a nice person. Like any other job, you're gonna want to work with that person. Be a nice person, and try not to let them down. You know what I'm saying? Just build those relationships, and don't do it because they might help you in the future. Do it from your heart, and it'll help you out in the future.
Right. People talk about networking, and the advice that I hear often is that if you approach networking as transactional, then you're
Yeah,
doomed to failure. Networking is about building real relationships with people. It's better to know 3 people really well than 20 people not at all.
exactly. And that's and we can see that from a mile away when someone's just trying to get a job or whatever. I mean, it's so easy to see someone that has a good heart and is trying to be your friend because they want to be your friend. Well, they happen to be musicians. That's great. Um, but I'll get these emails or calls once in a while. There's people that you can tell they just want to work. You want to work for you in some form or fashion, or they want to write a piece for you, and it's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
it's approached the wrong way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so and even at a university as large as USC, I was playing for movies and different things right after college, and it's not because I was this great trumpet player. It's because I did a good job at USC, and I knew, and these were all USC composers, so we had that connection. Um, if I didn't work hard at USC, I wouldn't have gotten those kind of gigs. So
Yeah. Sure.
very very helpful, very very helpful. Same with your professors. Show up to class. We're not going to give you a recommendation if you never showed up and you blew us off. So
Yeah.
that's important
And
too.
one of the hard truths of college is that your professors make the templates, they make the rubrics, they write the tests, they
Yeah,
give the tests, they grade the tests. If you're not really a nice person, then
yeah,
even if even if the teacher is trying to be 100% objective,
yeah,
it's really hard.
exactly,
You tend to not give favors to those
exactly.
who you don't like. And that's sounds wrong somehow, but it's not. It's just the way life is. It's human
No, it is.
nature.
It is. And if you don't have to be a straight A student. If you're really working hard and you're coming in and seeking help and hey, how does this rhythm go? I'm gonna go practice it, or how does this sound, etc. Instead of being stubborn about everything, then you know it's different approaches, and hopefully the approach that you take is positive.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite work for wind ensemble?
Oh man,
You know what?
that's
And I need to. This is my 26th interview, and I think 14 of the interviewees have said Lincolnshire Posey.
uh-huh.
So we'll start with that one, but give me something other than Lincolnshire.
Well, you're not gonna like the one that I picked because I'm sure
First
the other
Suite.
yeah, the other 12 were first suite. I'm gonna say first suite,
Okay.
not so much because of first suite. It's probably because I have so many memories, great memories with first suite. I'm talking festivals. First time my high school band was able to actually kind of play that. And then my first quarter at Loma Linda and here, we did first suite kind of as a stamp of here it is. Let's get things started. Um, for some reason, I guess it's traditional to do first suite when you get a new gig, and I did that here at La Sierra, but I had Professor Reynolds conduct it, so that was really memorable to have him be willing to come to the small university and work with my students and actually perform first suite.
That's
And
cool.
it's very memorable because I had him there, and I had my former band director here from La Sierra, and she was also present. So it was really cool for them to see and to be part of what was really an important thing for me to start this new time in my life here at the university.
Yeah, you were making an experience for
Yeah,
yourself and others.
exactly. And so it's funny because when people think you're crazy for doing some of these things, how do you bring Professor Reynolds in your first concert when your first rehearsal is only 8 people? And I told them that first day, well, we better get more people. I have Professor Reynolds coming at the end of the quarter. Some of it is they work harder when they're frightened, but but hey, you just have to go for it, and hopefully students see that I'm going for it, and I put sometimes it seems like an impossible thing in front of them, like we're gonna go to Europe and we're gonna do a tour and we're performing for these outrageous festivals that only professional groups play for, and they think I'm crazy, but they'll work for it, and then we'll get there. And hey, if we don't get there, then it's my fault. You can put it on me, but we haven't failed yet, so it hopefully shows them in whatever career they're headed that you just have to go for it, because when you're older you're gonna regret it that you didn't go for it. So, and
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what I've tried to do with my life. Hey, even with my wife, she's a very pretty lady, and hey, she's my wife. I went for
Yep.
it.
So you gave me first suite. Do you remember the first piece that really? What's the first serious piece you remember playing as a
That's
kid?
it. That's
First
why I
suite.
picked it. Was first suite.
Uh huh.
I remember. I mean, truthfully, it was Semper Fidelis. Um, we played it maybe by my second year. My friend would know this better than me, but it's the first one that I remember that was pretty serious. and a lot of fun for me. And then I think it was freshman year of high school. We went to a festival here at La Sierra, and we played First Suite. I could be wrong. It might have been the second festival we went to, but that's the most memorable thing. We did Lincolnshire as well, and we're doing that this year with the ensemble. But I love it. But First Suite is just there's so many great memories with that. The first I got to play a cornet part, um, so and then all these kind of like life stepping stones have involved that piece. So that's what's always on my mind. I try not overdo it, but I I also find a lot of not to bash on anybody, but a lot of band directors nowadays they're not doing enough of the standards. I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel it's good to bring those, but also play the new stuff. Give them a really well-rounded educational experience, and you'll see some programs and it's all new stuff.
I hear a lot of guests who talk about that not doing enough standards.
Yeah, I think that's important. And knowing, yeah, because hey, if you're going to be a music teacher, you got to know those as well. Some of the worst things I've heard from seniors in high school or people coming in here is that they don't what Holst? Who's that? It's like what?
Yeah.
Or oh, who's Granger? Or I'm like, what are you talking about? So that's important, and I try to do that in at Loma Linda. Do some standards, do the new stuff. People need to know who John Mackey is. People need to know who all these composers are. We need to do the stuff that was composed last year and this year. But we also have to do, early 1900 works, and we got to do a march, at least one march a year. People need to know how to play a march.
Yeah. See, I'm a big one march per concert kind of guy. I love marches.
There we go. I do that for festivals. We got to play a march. People need to know how to play a march.
Absolutely.
So, and not everyone's gonna like it, but it's part of the educational experience.
All right. Is there anything coming up that you'd like to share or promote?
Well, we have a conducting workshop in November with Al McMurray and myself. That's the big one. I'm gonna be announcing pretty soon here. I don't have all the information yet, but we're gonna have a band festival. We already have one for the Adventist schools. We're gonna have one for everybody at the end of the school year. I don't have guests for that yet, so I can't give you a lot of information, but I'll put it up on my Facebook and it'll be on our website here, lasierra.edu/music. Um, so yeah, I think those are the biggest things. We're playing at Carnegie Hall, beginning of this next year, so that's exciting for us. We're doing one of those Manhattan production things. So it's exciting for us to be able to do something like that, and we haven't been to New York for a while. So a big thing for me here is really for all the schools that we talked about the experience, but students have to have something to look forward to. You can't keep things the same. So if you're just having band class and nothing to look forward to, just a concert that they know it's already going to happen, then you start to lose them, even at the collegiate level. So that's what we have to look forward to, that Carnegie Hall thing, and I'm sure I'll bring in some composers as well. We have a faculty member here. I talked about him earlier, Gary Quo, and he's writing a piece for us to play there. And so is our theory professor here, Ken Narducci. So it's kind of like a La Sierra event. And we're not doing my piece because I have a student. He wrote a piece. He's a singer. He plays saxophone. He wrote a really great piece for wind ensemble and tenor, and we're going to do that instead. So it'll be really a La Sierra event at Carnegie, just to show what we can do, what the students can do. So it should be a lot of fun.
All right, Giovanni, this has been a really great conversation. How can people get in touch with you?
I think the easiest way would be my email, which is gsantos, Santos, at lasierra.edu. Again, it's gsantos at lasierra.edu. That always works. They can have my personal email too. It's gosantos at ymail.com, like the letter Y, like Yahoo.
Okay. Well, I know people can look you up for the first one for sure.
Yeah, and Facebook, I have a page that they just put Gio Santos, and that's the way to contact me. You can message me. So yeah, phone is not always the best, as you know, we're always running around. So I always check my email.
Yeah, sure. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. And thanks for doing this for the band community. This is really, really awesome.
Well, it's great that you say that because I was hoping that it would become something.
It will, I'm sure of it. This is really great. Thank you for including me in this.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.